What's going on, everyone? Stealthy Wolf here. Welcome to the EGX 2022 review slash overview slash coverage slash whatever. So, let's go over this briefly. EGX 2022 went from September 22nd, Thursday 2022, to Sunday, September 25th, 2022. I know I said that in a weird way, just go with it. I was there for all 4 days, and here is what happened. First of all, let's go for an overview, because obviously, with a lot of people having some reservations about this year, hoping it'd be a lot better than last year, comparing it to 2021's and everything like that, I can say 100% without a doubt, this was a bigger EGX than last year. 100%. Without a doubt, there was a lot more kind of stuff. There still wasn't the sort of presence of, say, Sony and PlayStation, Microsoft and Xbox, and, sort of proper, Nintendo sort of section. There was a Nintendo section. It was more of a, here's a Switch. Here's a couple of Switches lined up, and you're playing sort of well-known kind of games. Obviously there was a lot of sort of big games here as well. There was the playable debut, I believe, is what they were promoting it as, so I hope that's correct, of Sonic Frontiers. They also had something I didn't even know was even being in development, which was House Flipper 2. There was also obviously Splatoon 3, Street Fighter 6. There's a 6. What? There's a 6 Street Fighter? When did that happen? I just remember 4 being around for years, for decades. And they did have Modern Warfare 2 2022 beta section as well. That were kind of sort of the main things. But the overview was, there was so many more games, so much more kind of stuff to do, a lot more panels, and sort of the sort of small return of sort of the meet and greets stuff. Now, obviously, the best days that I would have said to go probably would have been Thursday, mainly because Thursday, it's the first day. It's a Thursday, so not many people are going to be there. You get the early entry, and you do get the after hours until 10 PM. So you get 12 full hours of the entire event on a Thursday. Whereas Friday you do, but it'll be a bit more busy, and Saturday will obviously be the busiest day, and then Sunday you don't have the after hours thing. The event finishes at 6. So I would say if you do want one day to go where you could play probably a lot of things with minimal queues, I would have said Thursday. I would have said Thursday anyway. Now, the beverage being promoted here, unlike last year, which was Coke Zero in little mini cans, that was the greatest thing. They had about 3 or 4 down sort of like the main sort of main street, aisle, whatever, of EGX, sort of like right down the middle. This year they didn't have Coke Zero, nor did they have more than one of this, but they had the Rubicon energy drinks. Unfortunately, you didn't get a full can because the cans were, quite big, so you got a little bit in a cup. There were 4 flavours. It was alright, but it only being in one place was a bit kind of disappointing. Because fucking every other soft drink that you went to get in XL or EGX was £2.50 for a can of fucking Coke. So, but so there was a lot of indie games. There was the Left Field Collection, the Res Zone. There was a lot of VR demo games as well there. There was a huge sort of video game. What's the word? Industry, video game industry people. Sort of in one section as well. There was an ice cream van in there as well. As well as somewhere that did hot dogs and did some wraps. And then obviously there was all the huge amounts of retail, so much amounts of like merch and collectibles and sort of like posters, t-shirts, every kind of sort of thing. It was a massive section this year, as well as as well as a certain section where there was like a specific section that was there was the competition of G Fuel. So G Fuel had their own section. There was the sort of PC sort of stuff as well. You could buy keyboards, mouse mats, and mice, and everything kind of like that, and laptops. I think you could buy a laptop or even a PC itself there. One funny bit in the Lenovo section, they did have motherboards, Lenovo Legion motherboards, screwed into a wall, which was quite weird, but also quite funny. And then moving down, the sort of retail section, a lot of the sort of like stages where there would be like the panels, the live shows, live streams, talks, whatever, they were all spread out in a really weird way. It was kind of it was just a negative for me, because if I wanted to, like the whole of the entire hall that was housing EGX was massive. I mean, it's always massive, but like it just felt even bigger than like last year, because it was just like, oh, you want to go to where the EGX Live stuff is, you have to go all the way down there, walk for like what felt like ages. There was also the sort of they had a proper arcade section this year, which was they may have had an arcade section before, I don't remember it, but this felt like a bigger arcade section. There were classic arcade games, like actual arcade cabinets, not just like sort of alongside the the retro consoles and stuff. So I even saw someone say that how is an Xbox 360 retro? I'm sorry, dude. Yeah. Oops. But yeah, like there was sort of like a Street Fighter section. There was Marvel. There was Spider-Man. There was Batman. Football, sort of football games from sort of lots of different generations. There was your classic multiplayer stuff like Mario Kart. You got Time Splitters, and all that. All that fun stuff as well was in the retro section. The board game section got a huge overhaul. It was like a quadrant, like a huge square area that was like quadrant off. That like some of it was for like sort of big board games. That's the only way I can describe it, because there wasn't like a really obvious kind of thing of what it was for. But there was just like big sort of what it looked like big versions of board games. Then they had like a D&D sort of section. Then there was like a card game section where you could go in and like you go into a little section, and there was like sort of like the card sort of merch, D&D, like card protector, card covers, that kind of thing as well. And then there was like more sort of board game stuff, sort of traditional board game stuff in the other section. And that was also there where you could buy board games, as well as sort of all or the section they called it was retail, so I will refer to it as retail. So all the stuff you could buy as well. So there was a lot of places to spend money. The area that was next to the board games, which was or to the tabletop, which was a bit weird, which was the Modern Warfare 2 beta section, which was funny because it seemed very obvious that the organisers of EGX said to Activision and Infinity Ward and whatever, said, could we have Modern Warfare 2 at EGX to promote it and whatever? And they said yes, but we can't give you the game or anything. You're just going to have to go into the beta. That's the open beta. And there's like, because that's what it was. The Modern Warfare 2 beta didn't start until 6 p.m. on Thursday, so you couldn't play the beta at the big sort of like closed off sort of stall for it. It was just like, yeah, you can't play it until 6 p.m. on Thursday. It just made me laugh because I was just like, that's kind of funny because that implies that they actually are just making you play the beta or getting you to play the beta rather than actually playing sort of like the LAN or sort of LAN or private matches, because they actually have the game. They didn't have the game. So I just found that quite funny. And next to that was the classic EGX Arena, which was housing a ton of different sort of tournament competition games. Like last year, I believe it was a lot more kind of fighting game centric. So it was there was one game that I can't remember the name of now. It wasn't there this year. I know it wasn't there this year. I can't remember the name of it. But this year, there was Street Fighter 5, which was there last year. But they also had a Valorant tournament, Rocket League. I believe it was just 2v2, although I could be wrong. Sort of tournament. They also had Guilty Gear Strive tournament as well. So those were kind of like the main games, which was always great to sort of like, got nothing to do, want to sit down for a bit. It was such a great section to just go to and see, people who know how to play sort of like the fighting games especially, or sort of like, sort of the proper sort of competitive games. It was really interesting to go see. And then right at the back, they had the bar, which was just one little lonely sort of section. Next to it was the EGX Theatre, where a lot of the panels, Q&As, stuff went on. And then there was the EGX Gauntlet, which I unfortunately didn't do. I didn't compete in the EGX Gauntlet, unfortunately. I know. I complained about what it was the entire time. It was a high score thing, and I only remember 2 of the games. The third game might have been Tetris. I think it was Tetris, Space Invaders, and Sonic 3. The weirdest thing to do for sort of high score games, but sure. Yeah, and then sort of just going back through sort of thing, there was a community hub, which I'm not sure if it was called the community hub before, but that's basically where sort of like it's a sort of mainly family friendly kind of thing, and where cosplay would be, which because of me going to see the Oxventure on the Saturday, I couldn't see the cosplay for Saturday, but I did see the cosplay on Cosplay Showcase on Sunday, so I will get to that when we get to it. There was the Rezzed Sessions sort of stand where there was like all the Res sort of indie games stuff was also forgot to mention in sort of the things that they had. They also had the Steamdeck there, which I will get onto because I did actually try that as well. yeah, there was a PC LAN zone. There was so many different sort of like indie games sections in that whole kind of like first section as you go in, where there's tons of games. There was uh, a UK based indie game sort of thing that was called Transfuser. There was a specific section for Goat Simulator 3. Was there even a Goat Simulator 2? I remember a Goat Simulator 2. There was a section, there was like a sort of quite a big section, relatively, for Disco Elysium, that detective game that everyone has lost their nuts about. Like I said, there was a whole sort of like line of like VR games where that was just sort of insane to see as well. There was, yeah, like I said, the Left Field collection. There was also a specific rock paper shotgun section where they had brought along games that have interesting peripherals or interesting mechanics for the games. So there was one where it was tie simulator and you got to hold the keyboard a certain way. There was also a section sort of near that was about the accessibility in sort of gaming, where it had like sort of sort of accessible sort of type controllers, sort of like the ones you can see if you just Google it, where you see sort of like sort of the bigger button controllers, more accessible controllers for everyone, sort of with certain disabilities and whatnot. That was all really interesting. The one weird thing I will say before we go a bit more in depth on certain days and what was there, the amount of games that are Souls-like that are coming out. I got annoyed because I saw a game. I can't remember the section it was, right, but it was like it looked basically like you got some Minecraft sticks and gave this thing like a Minecraft sword, like this pile of sticks, Minecraft sticks with a Minecraft sword, and you go, there you go. And I was like, oh, this actually seems interesting. I stood behind someone sort of as they played it, and I was like, oh, it looks like Dark Souls. And I walked away. And I was like, that does not interest me. It interested me, drew me in, and then was like, oh, that doesn't seem interesting. There was also another thing called Wulong, or something, that was also another sort of Souls-like game, and I was like, no, don't care. Don't care enough. So, unfortunately, there was quite a lot of games where it was Souls-like, and I was like, I don't know, no. So unfortunately, there are probably some games that a lot of people really hype for, or really enjoy, or would really enjoy, but unfortunately, I didn't get to play them. I will mention what game they are, but I think it was Nostalgia, if that's the right name. Let me look through my notes. It does not say here. That's great. Thank you. Well, that might have been the... I don't know now. Would it have been the... No. Anyway. But let's get more into what I did each day and sort of to go through each thing. Thursday was definitely more of a walk around and explore and see what's there. That's definitely what I did. Sort of more so. It took quite a long time for them to let us in on the first day. I think it was maybe like 20 minutes, half an hour before they actually let us go into the event. Which was a bit weird considering it says, 10 o'clock early entry kind of thing. So that was really weird. But a walk through and sort of just seeing all the games and everything. It was really kind of, it was like a, it definitely was like a sort of like a happy moment. because sort of seeing as much as what I did when you walk it, or much as what you did when you walked in, and then seeing it go all the way to the back and seeing it be completely full of sort of games, stands, merch, and everything like that. It was like we're actually getting back to that point pre-pandemic of conventions. Obviously, the only thing, like I mentioned earlier, that we didn't have was sort of the major sort of publishers, developers, that kind of thing. It was more kind of about individual games rather than developers and everything. At this point, I'm not sure if that's going to be like a constant thing going with EGX, sort of going forwards. But I would have liked to have seen, like Sony, PlayStation, and Xbox, Microsoft, and sort of Nintendo sort of trying to, show off some of their other things, and sort of having specific sort of like stands of like, hey, this is where you can use the PSVR, and here's a PS5 sort of kind of thing. Here's an Xbox Series X. Here's a Switch OLED. Stuff like that. But it was definitely sort of walking through it and just being like, this is amazing. This is great. EGX. A bit of a rocky 2021, but 2022 they have knocked it out of the park. It's definitely getting to the point of, sort of, like I said, pre-pandemic. There were a ton of things. I just forgot to mention until now, just because I was mentioning sort of shows and stuff. A lot of the shows, a lot of like the EGX Live stage and some other sort of bits, very prevalent with TikTok. There was a lot of TikTok, like I guess, content creators or gamers or whatever that were there doing sort of the live streams at EGX Live or sort of something else, and it was like, did we need to fill out sort of the schedule of the EGX Live shows so much that we went to TikTok? But TikTok is a massive thing. It even had its own booth there with, I believe it had one copy of Sonic Frontiers over there as well, beside the Sonic Frontiers own special section. So that was very weird. But hey, actually the TikTok section last year was where I played Hot Wheels Unleashed for the first time, and I played Sackboy for the PS5, and actually got to use a PS5 controller for the first time last year at a TikTok booth. So TikTok's, the TikTok section, I guess, not so bad, because people try and avoid it. So anyway, but yeah, it was a bit weird to see a lot of TikTok creators sort of go onto the EGX sort of live stage and play games to I assume sort of like the live streams on the internet, as well as the people that were there live as well. So yeah, sort of the first day there was a lot of there was a lot of like sort of more panels or talks, I guess, rather than any kind of thing. The EGX Arena had, I think that was Street Fighter V and Guilty Gear Strive. I think that was the first day of what they had. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get around to playing anything, or playing a lot of things, because I was just like, this is insane. And I also I was going around the merch, because that's what I was doing. That's what I just do. I was just going around the merch, and I was just like, that's interesting. How much is that? Ooh, that's kind of cool. Looking at that kind of stuff. Go to the EGX Live, EGX Arena, sort of just checking everything out. But there was one game that I did play, but I played it a bit more on Friday, so I'll get to that sort of then. But yeah, the Thursday was yeah, it sort of like the first day is all is or yeah was the kind of like, you know, you realize where you are, you realize what this kind of is, you know, it's not just like an event sometime in the future, it's happening right now, you know, it's starting right now, this is the event kind of thing. So apologies if I didn't actually get to anything on the first day. Well, much. So, one game that I did get to and played it a little bit on Thursday, then went and played it on Friday, because Thursday I didn't. I kind of went to it and was very confused by it. Then Friday I went back to it and I was like, I know what I'm doing now. And that is a game. If I just. So I want to pronounce the name properly. Is. I hope I'm pronouncing this properly. Ritual? I hope I'm saying that right. Sker Ritual. Yeah, it's a first-person co-op sort of survival shooter. Now, where have you heard those words put together before? Would you say Call of Duty Zombies? Because you're absolutely correct. This game is a mix of... Go away. This game is a mix of Call of Duty Zombies and Killing Floor. I'm sorry I say it like that. I was going to say Killing Floor 2, but it's also like Killing Floor 1. It has the enemy types and sort of objectives kind of thing that's based around Killing Floor, but it's got kind of like a story, sort of Easter egg thing, and weapons, mystery box, upgrade system, perks, and sort of like the points and killing zombies and or killing I don't know what they were called. Just creatures. It was creatures because it wasn't zombies, and then there was a special kind of zombie that was kind of like the astronaut, no, the cosmonaut in Call of Duty Zombies on Moon. But it was like a really tall Abraham Lincoln, but with a sack on his face, who punched you. So it's kind of like Nemesis and Mr. X. It was a really weird... It was a really good game. Really fucking weird. But yeah, it was... It was really good. It was really good. Like, if you are a fan of sort of just sort of first-person shooters, I definitely recommend to try this out. It's coming out, I think, early access later this year, I think in October. So, yeah, that was one of the things I saw that I was like, I have to play this, and it's really good, and there's going to be more chapters also coming out as well. I think they also said they're working on trying to get it to console as well, so that's going to be a really, really cool, really cool game. Oh yeah, one more thing I've just seen it, just sort of going through, is Dove was there, the sort of British soap brand. Like they were there, sort of promoting. Sort of, I will say more sort of female body types. Sort of, they called it "Let's Make Virtual Beauty Real." Sort of like a little tagline they had was, "Why does player one have to be a size 0?" And like they had, you know, they had kind of like a, you know, really sort of like skinny, unrealistic, you know, sort of video game character sort of next to sort of like, you know, a regular looking person that you would make and put in a video game if you want to be sort of like realistic. And I'm not going to shit on the thing as much. I would say it's a bit weird of the characters they chose. They didn't choose sort of like well-known characters. They didn't go like, oh, here's Lara Croft, and why can I not think like that? Sort of that kind of thing. They didn't do sort of like Lara Croft and why am I blanking on another female protagonist? Why? And game developers, get on that. But yeah, they didn't have stuff like that. It's like I was like, I kind of recognize the characters they're trying to go for, but I have no idea what their name is, and I have no idea where they're from. It's like I've seen them slightly before from like people sort of drawing art and video game characters, but I was very much like, I don't know who these characters are. Obviously, if you play sort of those certain games, then yeah, you'll know. But that bit just really confused me. But like everything, it was all it's obviously a really good sort of kind of thing. Although I would like to genuinely just ask this question. Is there anyone out there that when you go to create a character for any game whatsoever, be it sort of the fully more customizable things, sort of like sort of wrestling, sports games, that kind of thing, where you can change almost every aspect about the character, or something like something like Skyrim, where you have like a base kind of character, but you change like sort of the races and stuff. Is any you don't really sort of like, it's like a sort of standard default, and you change sort of slight things. Does anyone actually like try and recreate themselves as accurately as possible, or do you try and more go for how you want to look, what you think is cool, that kind of thing? I don't know. I for me personally, I always go for something that I think looks cool, kind of thing, rather than trying to make it look like me. But I get it's more about representation sort of in the video games as video game protagonists and everything like that. So it's less about kind of that kind of thing. But yeah, good thing. Sort of they're doing and trying to make known. Oh no, I don't know exactly. I've just seen. So last year there was a game that again was like Call of Duty Zombies, but more family friendly, that I raved about quite a lot. I talked about it quite a lot sort of after the thing, and I was like, this is it's going to be a really it's like a really cool game, really interesting, and actually seems like very sort of creative that way. And that game was called Stuffed. And unfortunately they didn't come back this year. However, they did a live demo, a little half an hour demo, sort of playing the game, going through like a match, and sort of going through the entire sort of idea behind the game, all the mechanics, and sort of like all the sort of creative ideas and all the sort of art direction, I guess, and all the models and everything for the game. And I was like, it's great that this game has come back to EGX, because I did like it last year. I enjoyed the hell out of it last year, and it's nice that they've at least managed to come back and sort of like talk about the game a little bit more, because like I said, it's a great game. It basically is family friendly Call of Duty Zombies, so it's probably an age rating of like 12, but it doesn't seem sort of too sort of childish in that kind of way. So it was nice they had a little demo there. And I'm only going to mention this briefly because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who cares. Outside Xbox and Outside Extra did their EGX Venture D&D shows. Did one on Friday and one on Saturday. And they were both like really amazing, really funny, really great episodes of Venture. This was also, I guess, sort of like the main introduction of them announcing the Venture YouTube channel, where all the Venture episodes will be going, sort of all of them from previous to sort of new ones, so that then there's a specific Venture channel, so you don't have to, find Outside Xbox or Outside Extra, or go to those go to two specific places to try and find a part 1 and a part 2 of an Venture, or so it's just very easy to kind of just do that, and that's a really good thing. It's been 5 years, I think they said. 5 years of the Venture, and I really enjoyed it. Friday was a bit of a, like, I don't think it sold out sort of show, but Saturday definitely sold out. There was tons of people. I would also like to rant about kind of some things about the Venture, but it's not for this video. It's not for this video. But yes, that was sort of Friday as I remember it. Unless I did anything. Did I do anything else? I don't really know what I did Friday. Look, okay, long days plus it being a couple of days later that I'm now making this video. Yeah, sort of Friday, and then Saturday, the busiest day. So, what did I do for the busiest day? I went and queued for Sonic Frontiers. So I did. I queued for Sonic Frontiers. Because obviously, everyone sort of like, there's been so many sort of like things said about it. People say it's the Sonic of, Sonic version of Breath of the Wild kind of thing. Oh, and here's where my opinion is gonna split people. There are 3 groups of people that will have certain things to say about Sonic Frontiers. There's going to be the first group that is absolutely going to love it. There's going to be a group that is going to absolutely hate it. And then there is going to be the third group that I'm in that's going to be kind of indifferent. Because I can see the positives in the game, I can see the negatives in the game, especially because it was a pre-alpha demo, I think. Or it was an alpha demo, so it was quite early on. There were some things that weren't really right with it. There was delayed audio, there were voices not actually being in the game. But, that's all kind of like pre-alpha, alpha stuff. That I'm not going to, like rag on the game for. Or rag on the specific demo that we got to play. However, the reason I am indifferent to it is because honestly, I just don't care that much. I'm sorry to say that. I don't really care. It's like Sonic Front. It's the same as like, oh, here's another game that's coming out. I'm like, cool. It's like any other game coming out. It's like Splatoon 3's coming out. I'm like, yeah, all right. It's like, oh, there's Modern Warfare 2's coming out. All right. They're remaking Resident Evil 4. Okay. It's like I'm in that stage. So unfortunately, but I can definitely see people absolutely loving this game and people absolutely hating the game. Again, I'm only saying this from what I played, which was sort of the alpha / pre-alpha. Not sure which one they would say it was under. But it felt like the controls definitely felt like they worked, but you'd need some time to adjust to them. You know, it's not it's intuitive, but like I said, only when you actually sort of, you know, sit down and play it for a bit longer than like a 15-20 minute session. You know, yeah, there's a lot of kind of like a sort of changing and revamping of kind of controls. Didn't get around to any kind of like what looked like upgrades to like weapons, jump, dash, attack, speed, or anything like that. There wasn't sort of that kind of thing in the bit of demo that I played. But there was the double jump and the homing attack are two different buttons. So you don't just double jump, or you don't jump and then lock on and then press the same button to jump to homing attack. You press a different button this time, which from what I know, because I played Sonic Forces, that's very different control. There was sort of the sort of similar return of if you're running in a straight line and you press sort of the bumper buttons, you will then sort of swap over to sort of one side or the other in like a quick dash kind of motion. There was a lot of like combo kind of things, like running up walls as well. And it definitely does seem like a open world exploration kind of Sonic game. So Breath of the Wild, I'm not sure. I didn't play Breath of the Wild, but it did seem like that kind of, you know, it's a very interesting kind of thing, and I can't wait to sort of see it later on, like in the sort of full game, when, you know, sort of when it's a proper full thing and, you know, you play it from the beginning rather than wherever the demo started. But yeah, it was really interesting, and there were some things about it that kind of felt a bit off. Sometimes the speed and some delay of actions. Again, I'm not sure whether that was the demo's fault, or whether that was the game in general. But there were a couple of points where I kept dying against an enemy because I went to attack. I attacked it like 3 times, and I went to jump away, but as I was jumping away, it swiped and hit me. But, like, you know, I was pressing the button to get away, dash away, jump away. So there's a bit kind of delay on that, and it's a bit like, yeah. But I can see a lot of people, I can see sort of the thing of people not liking it at all, hating it. And that sort of mainly comes from the sort of people who don't like Sonic Unleashed. You know, I feel like it kind of had a somewhat similar thing. I haven't played Sonic Unleashed, I will put that out there, but I know Sonic Unleashed has some open areas kind of sections. So I kind of feel like people are either going to hate this game or like it. I don't think there's going to be anyone who is going to be right down the middle. You know, because, you know, like I said, I can see the amazing sort of good of what Sonic Frontiers is going to be, but I can also see a lot of people on it for certain reasons and just not liking it and not enjoying it. So unfortunately, yeah, it's going to be one of those games. It definitely is going to be one of those games where, unfortunately, you're either going to love it or hate it. It's a Marmite game. There's going to be no one that's in the middle, I don't think. Now, what's oh yeah, I think it was Saturday. I believe it was Saturday. I played with the Steam Deck. Now, if you don't know what the Steam Deck is, basically it's a handheld PC gaming console that sort of plays Steam games only, I think. I could be wrong about that, but yeah. But how I thought of it as is while I used it and after I used it, I basically thought, this is a Switch. This is a Nintendo Switch, but the opposite. Because obviously, you know, Nintendo Switch has everything that's Nintendo and almost nothing of anything else, whereas PC would have pretty much everything else apart from Nintendo stuff. You get my point of it? Me saying it's the opposite, but it's the same. So, I only played a little bit because the game that I was playing had just a way too long tutorial about it, but was definitely built, like the game was built for thing. It was another Portal Aperture Science spin-off game. I can't remember exactly what it was, like Desk Job or something. But it definitely seemed like with the Steam Deck sort of built for the Steam Deck. The game was made for the Steam Deck because of all the sort of buttons and everything. And there's too much going on the Steam Deck. Honestly, there is way too much going on the Steam Deck. It doesn't need it. So it has on the front. It's got the screen that it's got is a touch screen. Okay, you didn't need to. It's got D-pad, it's got the face buttons. It's also got then the 2 analog sticks. Okay, that's kind of standard. It's got like sort of the, you know, R1, L1, R1. It's got L2 and R2 kind of buttons. You know, sort of bumpers and triggers. It's like, okay, that's fine. It's got, you know, sort of the R3 clicking in of the sticks. Sort of R3 and L3. It also then has L4, R4, L5 and R5 buttons, which are sort of like bumper flap, trigger flaps on the back. What? Why? But then there's also 2 trackpads on the front underneath the analog sticks, the D-pads and the face buttons. It was just too much. I don't have that many hands, Steam or Valve. I don't have that many fingers. I don't have that many buttons. The Steam Deck feels like they wanted to add so many buttons to it because they were like, oh, you could do this, you know, try and make it like PC, where there's, you know, because PC has a full keyboard to work with. So we're like, we're going to fit as many things on we can. I don't know. I don't think it needed a touchscreen and 2 trackpads and 2 extra trigger flaps on the back to be a thing. Too many fucking buttons. The sort of similar Switch aspect. I feel like it was also, it just felt very unwieldy. You know, it felt like there's no way that you could move to every single button or trigger or bumper or analog stick or whatever on the Steam Deck without like moving your hand entirely. I feel like the Steam Deck was made for the people who said that the Switch was too small for their giant hands. People who said the Switch is too small for their massive hands, then the Steam Deck is perfect for you, because it feels like it accommodates that. But considering my hands work really well with the Switch, and the Nintendo Switch, like, it feels comfortable. Sort of, the Steam Deck just didn't feel comfortable. There's too many buttons, there's too much stuff going on, and the game that I played didn't have enough for me to make like a sort of an honest opinion about sort of the games on it. I can just say sort of like how it worked and everything. So, oops. Saturday on EGX September 24th was also the sort of GoldenEye 007 day, as it were. Because there was the 25 years of GoldenEye Meet the Developers sort of panel in the EGX Theatre, and then later on at the Community Hub section there was a GoldenEye Retro Tournament. Sort of going on. I didn't go to the panel with the GoldenEye developers because I was doing other things. But the GoldenEye Retro Tournament, I think this would be quite interesting to go and have a look at. It was literally 4 people playing GoldenEye in a little tournament. I think they won tickets to next EGX plus a signed boxed copy of GoldenEye 64. Is it GoldenEye 64 or is it just GoldenEye? GoldenEye. And then also there was sort of special guest of the GoldenEye champion or something, and I'm like, I don't think it's a GoldenEye speedrunner, but I think it might be like a GoldenEye multiplayer sort of champion, like tournament champion kind of thing. So yeah, that was a bit weird, but it was fairly interesting. Then obviously, sort of later on there was the Oxventure, which was sort of really interesting. There was also some music and live concert things and DJ and stuff that night. So I don't know. I didn't see it because it was some of it was happening when I was at the Oxventure. The other ones were in the EGX Theatre, which is sort of it was behind sort of closed curtains anyway. So I could only sort of just hear it, and I was very confused about what it was. But then Sunday, the final day, I made an immediate beeline for games that I was like, I don't really want to... I had no interest in playing the Steamdeck, but I did it anyway, because I feel like I just should have tried it. But I went to Modern Warfare 2 Beta, mainly because I was only going to have a couple of hours, if that, of playing it when I got back from EGX on the Monday. Just because there wouldn't have been enough time for me to play it, so I wanted to see what was there. I queued for about an hour to get to play Modern Warfare 2, and yet to see it was the Modern Warfare 2 beta that they just had set up. And the only thing I came out with that was the Scar type weapon at the last assault rifle that you unlocked in the beta, with the, I believe it was called Frontal Impact blueprint. It was a decent gun. It was a decent gun. It was pretty good. That's all I can say about that. It literally was the beta. I was wondering if it was the beta when they said it opens at 6 p.m. on the Thursday, and yeah, I was correct. So I went in. Then I went to House Flipper 2. Yes, I went and checked out House Flipper 2. I never got around to playing the first House Flipper. I wanted to, but I just never got round to it. PC game. So I never got round to it. And I was like, I've seen a lot of people play it, and I've seen people go through a lot of the things and a lot of the mechanics, so I could kind of get a gist from them playing it of how it kind of is. From what I could tell, obviously not actually playing it wise, but it felt like they improved quite a lot on sort of House Flipper 1 mechanics, and sort of everything kind of was more streamlined, but also there was kind of a bit more to kind of do in the little 15-minute demo that we could play. There was a bit more kind of sort of more to the mechanics. So instead of you sort of sledgehammering a wall and hitting like certain sort of predetermined like lines of the geometry, you could sort of hold the button down to sledgehammer the wall, and it would make a bigger area that you could then destroy all at once, rather than you having to go through like line by line or little square by little square kind of thing. So that was interesting. The cleaning mechanic was kind of sort of streamlined. You didn't have to choose like a specific thing. You just sort of like, right, I'm going to clear the floor, clean the floor, clean the ceiling, clean the walls, clean the window, that kind of thing. And there was like there's a rubbish bag mechanic, which basically there'll be like sort of debris and rubbish on the floor, and you can pick up, put it in a trash bag, and I believe you could put it in the bins. There are like bins around as well, but I'm not sure what the difference was between putting them in the bin and then just using the flipper tool, the selling thing, to just sell it. You didn't get any money from it, but you got rid of it. So I don't know if putting it in the bin you would like maybe just sort of more immersive kind of thing. Their tagline for the game was more than just a simulator. But I don't know if that was kind of more than a simulator aspect where you could just put rubbish into a bin. But yeah, it definitely seemed like it streamlined a lot of things. I did have one bit of a problem, but again, it was a pre-alpha. And that was, you had to be like right up against something to interact with it. So if you were trying to pick up rubbish, you couldn't pick it up from, a decent distance away. You had to be like almost right on top of it. And if you wanted to sort of like destroy a wall, you had to be right up close to the wall, which makes sense, but it's a bit kind of annoying for the game. So really, but yeah, and then once you played the game, got like a little tote bag, some little goodies in it, some weird things. It's like they basically just went, hey, what stuff can we give people who have played our game? I know, a House Flipper 2 mouse mat. Okay, that doesn't seem like we should put it in. Oh, how about a House Flipper 2 measuring tape? That's fitting. How about some House Flipper 2 playing cards? Are you okay? How about some House Flipper 2 like stress squishy balls? What? How about House Flipper 2 pins? Okay, that makes sense. House Flipper 2 wristband. You get in there. House Flipper 2 stickers. Yes. House Flipper 2 glasses cleaner. Why would anyone want a glasses cleaner? Why? 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 But they also did include a little... like, I was confused about what it was. Because it literally just said House Flipper and then had a code on the other side of like this little like bit of card, and I was like, what? What is this? I was like, is this like something for House Flipper 2? Could this be House Flipper 1? I don't know. But yeah, it was a code for House Flipper 1, so now I can actually go play House Flipper 1. Play and enjoy that. And then the one last thing that I will mention was the cosplay showcase, because it was the last thing that I did before we all had to leave. Obviously, I could talk about sort of what the stuff in the arcade and the arcade cabinets and sort of the retro games that I played. But what would you expect? It's going to be retro games. You know, I played Time Crisis 2 on a PS2 on a tiny CRT TV. I played Dr. Mario on an arcade cabinet. There was Duck Hunt on an arcade cabinet. There was Point Blank. I played Tempest. I played Hunchback. I played Smash TV. There was Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. There was Tetris. There was a pinball Pac-Man game that the pinball aspect of it didn't really work. It was just Pac-Man. There was Mrs. Pac-Man, Pac-Man. There was Asteroids. There was Defender. There was even like actual Outrun, like the Outrun sort of driving game, like actual like sit in sort of simulator kind of thing. There was also like Sega Rally. There was sort of like so many sort of old school retro sort of arcade cabinets. You know, but obviously not kind of the ones people want to play, which is, you know, like, you know, Time Crisis, House of the Dead, that kind of thing. No, that was for the light gun section where you could play House of the Dead 2 on the Dreamcast sort of version light gun, and Time Crisis 2 on the PS2 light gun. I think there also might have been Point Blank, and there might have been something else that I wasn't really sure of what the game was called. But it was more light gun stuff. There was, you know, sort of old, really old, like retro thing, like Commodore 64, old Ataris, and sort of stuff like that. And there's sort of like also really unique stuff as well. Sort of unique sort of like old school consoles and stuff. Obviously, then there was, you know, kind of the sort of Mario showcase where you could play Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario 3D World, and then there was a Sonic section, which I never got to, but there was Sonic Adventure 1 on the Dreamcast, and there was, you know, Sonic 1, 2, and 3, I think, as well. So that's, you know, just imagine a lot of, like, old school games and put them there, you know. Little note, there was Choo Choo Rocket as well. Choo Choo Rocket and Turok. Anyway, on to the cosplay showcase. Now again, like I said, I only went to the Sunday one because I couldn't get to the Saturday one because it was at 5 PM, I believe. Yeah, it was at 5:15 on the Saturday, and I was already queuing for the Ox Venture at that time, so I didn't get around to seeing it, unfortunately. But while sort of, you know, just walking around the floor itself, there was a lot of just cosplays in general. There was one that was I don't know where it was from or really what it was, but it kind of looked like maybe something from like Silent Hill or maybe Dark Souls. It was something that was like sort of like 4 legs, but they were kind of like stilts, and it was kind of like sort of like a sort of creature thing, and then it was kind of like had like huge back, and was all just kind of like grey and sort of like cobweb looking. It was insane, but I had no idea what the fuck it was. But then for the cosplay showcase, there was 2 sort of sets of the cosplay showcase. There was the non-competitive and then sort of the competitive stuff. The non-competitive was really good. Like, obviously, you know, that, you know, I don't know what the sort of cosplayers were, you know, sort of goes through their head or anything when doing non-competitive versus competitive, whether, you know, kind of like they bought part of the cosplay so they didn't put it into the competitive thing but still wanted to show it off, you know, that kind of thing. But there was really good ones, sort of really good sort of like a kid sort of younger cosplayers. There was one who was a little sister from Bioshock. That was terrifying. I'm like, why am I getting terrified of like this 6-year-old standing there, like emotionless, just staring at the crowd? I'm like, that's terrifying. You need to leave. Oh, another reason why children are creepy. Yeah, and then we got to sort of the competitive thing that was judged by like two like sort of, I guess maybe popular cosplayers. I'm unsure. Yeah, so there was sort of insane things. A notable one was it was a guy who cosplayed every day. I saw him every day, right? Who cosplayed Scorpion and had like sort of like the tail thing, had like like a fucking like a weapon as well. Oh, was it a scythe? I don't know, but I had like a sort of like a big weapon like that, and had like the full mask and the outfit, and I was like, that's insane, insane. But yeah, there were some pretty good ones as well. There was I think it was a World of Warcraft one. There was like a couple of Valorant ones. Not so much Genshin Impact, which I thought would be the case, considering Genshin Impact is sort of like the major sort of thing that cosplayers are going to. But there wasn't that many from that actually. Yeah, it was a really good sort of showcase of sort of cosplay showcase. I think Saturday may have had more cosplayers. Sort of someone that was going around in cosplay as well for a couple of the days, but wasn't there on the Sunday with the Scorpion cosplayer, was a Sub-Zero cosplayer. So obviously they were walking around and like, this is Mortal Kombat kind of thing. Saw lots of other like cosplayers as well. Obviously, way too nervous to go talk to any cosplayers and just be like, I like your cosplay. But yeah, so that wraps up EGX 2022. It definitely blew EGX 2021 out of the water entirely. Just so much more stuff. Just insane kind of things, and sort of even though I didn't get around to playing Splatoon 3 and Street Fighter 6, I sort of watched it for a little bit because I'm not good at a fighting game, so I didn't have any interest in Street Fighter 6. But it seemed like Street Fighter. It looked slightly different than sort of what I've seen of Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 4 sort of in the UI department, but I guarantee there's like new characters, new combos, and sort of stuff like that, and other sort of slight mechanics that they've updated or changed or whatever that I'm sure people who like Street Fighter and like fighting games would completely love. And then Splatoon 3, there wasn't much that I saw that would have been different from sort of hugely different from the first two Splatoon games. Obviously, I believe there's new weapons, new maps, new items, and special attacks and whatever stuff like that. But one thing I saw was a sort of before a Splatoon match would be usually sort of like one team versus another team, and I believe in Splatoon 3 they added a sort of a triple team mode where there'd be 3 teams on one map trying to cover the most of the map in their colour goop. But again, I can't really say much else about Splatoon 3 or Street Fighter 6. And that wraps up EGX 2022 fully, properly. That's it. All done. No more else. Nothing else to say, I think. Oh, I also played another game quickly called Scathe. I think it's already out. It's like it's like Doom, although more brutal. So check that out as well. Scathe, SCATHE. It was really good. Now it's now it's the end. So thank you everyone for sort of listening, and sort of if you didn't get to go to EGX this year, or if you were wondering, you went to EGX 2021 because convention, and then you were a bit disappointed, and you were like, I don't think I want to go to EGX 2022, and then you're watching this, and you're like, okay, it actually sound like really good. And if you were here for sort of a Sonic Frontiers sort of little look, if you didn't get to go to EGX to try it, or House Flipper 2, or the Steamdeck, or Modern Warfare 2 Beta, or anything like that. But I hope you did enjoy. Next year EGX, or next year London EGX I should say, because I'm not sure when the Birmingham one is. Next year it's in October. I wrote it down. Where is it? October 12th to October 15th for EGX 2023 in London. I'm not sure when the Birmingham one is. Hopefully, I might maybe get around to doing that. And if I do, I will do another coverage of the event like this one, like this video. Apologise for it being long, but I did want to cover sort of everything and sort of give it enough justice to people who maybe didn't get to go, or again were worried that it was going to be a bit of a disappointment, kind of like 2021's. But yes, this year was amazing. It was really good. There was a lot of sort of fun stuff to play, fun stuff to watch, and just stuff to do generally. The only problem is that it's in the centre of London, and all the food shops, all the food sort of stalls that are in the XL centre itself all close at 6. So when the after hours goes until 10, there's no food apart from like little packets of crisps at the EGX bar. Like, that's it for food. So, but that's not an EGX problem. That's, I mean, also all the drinks, minimum price you were spending on drinks was £2.50, and that was for a can of like Coke, Diet Coke, Pepsi, Sprite, that kind of thing. But yeah, EGX 2022 is done. Bit of a somber moment, but EGX 2023 is only a little bit more than a year away, and the Birmingham one, I assume, is coming up at the beginning of next year, or sort of mid next year. So if this has sort of made you go, maybe piqued your interest or anything like that, or made you go, maybe EGX has gotten back from sort of the pandemic. But again, thank you everyone for watching. I hope you did get some information or enjoyed this really long video. But thank you everyone for watching, and peace out.